Hey family, how you guys doing? Welcome to Phie.Love Intuitive Conversations. I hope you guys are good. If you like my content, please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, if there's any negativity, if there's any hate, keep that on your side of the street, okay? Won't be acknowledged. So family, today I'm being guided to get into the topic on how can we take accountability for our relationship cycles, and how can we change ourselves from having the same experiences and problems in relationships but end up with a different avatar or a different body, but you're having the same issues, right? And then we go through the cycle, the same problems, the same issues, and we leave relationships and we're out here screaming and shouting, all women and all bitches, all men, all assholes are the same. Are they really? Or maybe it's just a pattern that you have within yourself that you haven't awakened to yet and want to blame it on yourself having a type, or your friend telling you that you have a type. Maybe not. Maybe it's not a type. Maybe you just have a pattern that, keeps on showing itself no matter who you end up with. That kind of ignites and brings the same lessons in that are meant to awaken you to where you need to make a change, and in turn open yourself up to an elevation of person and energy and vibration in your relationships. Something to think about, huh? So where can we start with asking ourselves the questions when we take the time to sit alone and just ponder, what are the cycles I go through in relationships? What are the problems I find myself in? Instead of always blaming the next person, where could I actually be the problem? It's not nice taking that accountability, right? It's always easier to think that we're right, that the other person is wrong, the other person needs to mature, the other person needs to change, the other person needs to make, maneuver themselves in a way to make our experience with them a little bit better. But maybe our perception, maybe the place that we're operating out of is the problem. Have you ever taken time to sit down with yourself and have the courage to look back on your life and look back at the examples you had between your parents or other people around you? What's been programmed into you as a relationship? What's been programmed into you through example or word that would make a woman or a man? Was your mother satisfied? Was your father worthy enough of being seen as a man in her eyes by just simply making sure that she was materially taken care of, and turned you, her son, into her mental and emotional support? So you go out there and you find women, you align with women who tell you you are a man as long as you can materially support them, and become frustrated and feel like it's just too much if they require a little bit more out of you than just the material aspect, and suddenly you've got friction, suddenly you become averse because in your life, you were the mental and emotional support and the person who had to, be there for a woman to your mother. She didn't get that from her husband, so she turned you into her husband, or a portion of what he could have and should have been for her. How does all of that show itself in your relationships? How does that show itself in your tolerance for dealing with a woman in a way that, requires you to be a wholesome version of yourself in a relationship and not just a portion that you saw seemed or came across as if it was enough in the dynamic between your parents? What causes the aggravation? A lot of the time, it's something deeper. I mean, for women, do you end up finding yourself with taken men, married men? Are you in cycles of that? Because maybe your dad wasn't a good father, wasn't a present father. Your father wasn't able to display what the programmed idea of a father and a husband should be in a woman's life, and through example provide that kind of direction. So when you go out there, you find yourself attracted to men who seem to resemble all those things that you felt you were lacking out of your own father. Who knows? So you start putting the pressure on your partners to, be providers, to be in your male partners, your male counterparts, to be providers, to be all these things that you feel that you were lacking from your father, looking for guidance in men, in males, and feeling like you can get that from the ones who they are fathers, they're husbands, they look like they can hold households together, so you find yourself gravitating towards those men. And those men maybe are out in the streets looking for women who will make them feel worthy enough in their ability to provide, because the women at home are expecting things out of them that they are already being for their mothers. It's all a fucking mess, deliberately done that way by the system powers, who program us in a certain way, that be so that there's no balance, there's no equilibrium, and there's only friction and lower vibrational bullshit going on, and frustration between men and women, because everything is all mixed up. Women are getting frustrated with, in cycles of getting frustrated with men who, are so attached to their mothers and are everything to their mothers that their mothers need to cut off, let them go now, and allow them to be for a woman, instead of making the man feel guilty, making him feel like, he's being neglectful. And I mean, for women, it's always an issue of the absent fathers, looking for things in other men that they didn't get from their fathers, and gravitating towards the ones who, because we're so physically focused, right? What is physical is real. So if as a woman you're out here and you can see a man displaying all the characteristics that you recognize by watching him, you didn't get from your father, and that must mean he's also a good husband then, right? Because I didn't see any of that or hear about any of that that he's talking about as he puts his best foot forward. talking to me about his family and his children, and if it sounds good and it looks good, we're not programmed to believe the truth. We're programmed to believe whatever bullshit illusion gets put onto us that soothes our lack and our need to satisfy our unconscious wounding, or the wounding within ourselves that we're unconscious about, right? But if we don't take time alone to recognize where we have all these issues within ourselves, we're never going to be able to get out of the cycles of frustration and friction and being a constant place of lack. Recognizing, you know what, some of these things maybe I need to learn how to give to myself. I don't need to get from the outside, because we can. Why look for a provider on the outside when you can establish yourself and take the time alone to, build your own life up? Step out of the rat race, step out of the illusion and false programming of the fact that you're losing time and you need to have kids and you need to get married and you need to and you need to and you need to and you need to. What? No. Take a break from the cycles. Stop working against yourself and putting yourself into situations that just tell you and the universe that you have no self-love, and you're not willing to look at yourself and heal and elevate and attract someone in who's of a better vibration, who'll be able to appreciate you as a whole being once you've established and built your own self up without, to a point where you don't feel like you need to depend or look for it on the outside. I hope what I'm saying is making sense. Sitting down and doing the inner work can be painful. It can be painful coming to terms with the fact that, I am this way because I didn't have a father around who was a good example. A good father to me was a man who sat around on his ass, had, brought the money home, and my mother just accepted that, regardless of whether there was love or no love, ill treatment. He was still fed. He was still, treated with respect. And you're going to end up finding yourself in a cycle in your future, if you haven't already, in situations where you're accepting that kind of treatment as well. And then you end up having children and they see the exact same thing. And it becomes a generational issue. But never ever taking the time to kind of sit alone and, take a higher perspective and an unconditional, loving approach, approach to all of it, and be like, well, now that I'm older, I can see that my father also probably didn't have a good example of a dad. I can see that my father as well was someone who was very wounded, and he was internally backed up with a lot of shit that he didn't want to look at or face. Suppressed emotion, probably a lot of suppressed trauma, anger towards women, toxic masculinity programming, and, toxic entitlement. I see it all now as that, and that may be why I find myself also gravitating just towards certain men who are of that vibration, because that's the example of a man that I come from. But in the same breath, these men, they sound like they're present for their children, so maybe that's what I should go for. Only thing is, this man is married. The man already has a woman. The man already has a family. And I'm not saying this is the case with everybody. This is just, an example. But it's a pretty common thing we have going around, right? So, where are you operating out of your wounding? Where don't you want to acknowledge your wounding? Where do you take action out of the discomfort that you feel and become impulsive over? Where are you settling? Where are you not allowing yourself to be in a place where you recognize that you deserve better and you deserve more? You deserve better than the shitty example or the shitty situations you found yourself in the past, or today as a son find yourself in, wanting to join with a woman, but you also are kind of normalized and unconscious in the fact that splitting yourself between your mother and your woman, it's frustrating, it's a lot. And the energy of entitlement as well from the mothers over the son to be that for her, and the projection of jealousy as well that comes from the mother towards any new female that may come into his life. On an energetic level, that causes friction, and it manifests into the physical as friction. It manifests as the woman feeling like she's competing, having to compete. And it manifests as a man, being only partially available and only willing to give himself in a relationship with a woman outside of his mother in a way that his father, who was a provider only on the materialistic side, did. So he'll only be willing to provide materially, and all the other stuff, has already been occupied and taken by his mother. So we have men around, who are split, who are extremely attached to their mothers and their past, and who are, unavailable completely to anything new that needs to come in, or tries to come in, or or is attempting to be created. It's a mess. And it's up to us to take the accountability within ourselves and start sorting all of that out. Pay attention to the kinds of stuff that we allow ourselves to take in and program us, and as well as our children. Pay attention to, what kind of a dynamic do I really have with my partner? What dynamic do I have with my partner? And if there are children involved, what is my dynamic teaching them? What do my children see? Do they see a father that is only solely a provider, and as a woman, regardless of how he treats me, I stick around because, the stability is here and I'm completely dependent? Am I teaching my daughters to be dependent and not independent, and, not putting their self-worth first and learning how to depend on themselves? What am I teaching my son? Have I settled with a husband who should be my partner, who doesn't, satisfy me in the ways that my partner should? And I've now put the burden on my son, programming him into dependency and into obligation and duty and feeling responsible in ways that, later he won't know how to be for somebody else, or won't feel comfortable enough or feel guilty. Because doing that makes him feel like he's putting his mother in lack. Sorry, the dog's outside. You know, it's the same story every time. So, family, it's really something to think about, right? And once we think about that in our time alone, once we take the time, take the pen, take the paper, write it down. Speak to the Most High, speak to Allah, speak to God, speak to Spirit, speak to Vishnu. Put it all out there. Be honest with yourself about your experience as a child and where your wounding comes from and what motivates you. What are you aligning to? Where are you taking accountability? Where are you always blaming the people that you join with to be the problem when maybe, just maybe, your perspective and what motivates you into your action and who you join with needs the adjusting. It's our patterns, and we need to elevate out of them. And you can't go into anything new or recognize anything new in an old mindset. Yes. I hope this is all sat well with you and resonated. I'm being guided today to get into different decks, which is nice because we've been using the Ascendant Masters decks for quite a long time. So today I'm going to be going into the Miracle cards, okay, by Marianne Williamson. And I'm also going to be going into the Trust Your Vibes deck, right, by Sonia Chuket. I don't know if I'm ever saying her name the right way. But anyway, let's get into it. So let's see what Spirit has to guide our conversation, or nudge somebody in a direction who's watching the video. Yeah, let's see what's come out. Moving forward came out. It's always a new path to move forward onto, right? I mean, that's what I'm pulling with the path ahead. If you're moving forward, you're choosing to see the light on a new path and move ahead, right? Move into something different and change your patterns and move into a new way, even though it might be a little unfamiliar and nothing that kind of resembles what you know and the examples you've been given and what you came from. But sure enough, it'll be different, it'll be new, and it'll be a different experience. And someone as well, again, who's probably of a better vibration and better nature, because you'll be making decisions from a place of being healed, from a place of releasing and healing your wounding that you've been operating unconsciously out of. It says, build community. Nurture those less fortunate. Become yourself. Seek God. No less potent steps than these will be deep enough to move us forward. Find your direction in God, and God and Most High and Spirit will show you the way. And don't always look for the most extravagant or the biggest action. It's always the little steps. Spirit will just show you enough to take the next step, and be patient enough to wait for your next one always, okay? So let's move into the next deck. Again, we have the Trust Your Vibe oracles, right? Let's see what Spirit has out of this deck for us to support our conversation or nudge someone in a specific direction. Play. Play, guys. Let go and play. Okay? Don't take it all so seriously. Yes, healing is serious, but there's no specific direct way to do it. And Spirit isn't a linear thing. You need to be able to kind of look at your situation in its entirety and pull the different aspects of it together to understand why it is you are the way you are, without having to also again go towards the opinion of someone on the outside. Because generally, if you're unhealed, best believe if you go to anybody else on the outside of you, they're unhealed too. Don't expect someone on the outside to have the answers to your problems. They're your problems, they're your lessons, they're your obstacles to get through, and they've been positioned and placed in your life in a perfect way just for you, so you can overcome, elevate, and grow and mature and align with something that is for your better, highest good, right? Let's see what the guidebook has to say. Okay, it's number 11. To activate your higher awareness and instantly restore good vibrations, all you need is a serious dose of recreation and playtime. Rather than continuing to relentlessly press against the uphill battles of life, it's necessary to back off at regular intervals and do something fun. I'm picking up as well, in your time between relationships, take the time for yourself. Release the old energy. Understand your energy. Take time to ask yourself the questions. Do a review of your relationship and the problems, and leave where you think someone else was wrong, and recognize where you as an individual moving forward in whatever next situation you find yourself in can do better and do differently and need to change, and where you were maybe the source of triggering the next person too. Or maybe you just found yourself aligning yourself to situations where you shouldn't have been aligning yourself to begin with, like with a married man. A man who is already spoken for, or a woman who's already spoken for, or somebody who just isn't looking for the same things out of a connection and engagement that you are. What is it about you and your behavior that puts you into situations of always being hurt and frustration and imbalance? This gives your ego a break and allows your creative spirit to incubate a solution. Having fun is not a waste of time. It allows the universe to work on your behalf while you refresh your soul and gain a new perspective. Play also raises your personal vibration and increases your ability to intercept divine guidance from higher realms. Albert Einstein once said that he wished he had played more, while Leonardo da Vinci made it a regular daily practice. An hour or two, or even a full evening or weekend of play, will release your inner genius, restore your vitality, and usher in the solutions you seek. Back off, relax, enjoy, and see if a surprising outcome results. That was nice. So family, I hope this has resonated, and I hope it's given a little bit of guidance and a little bit of encouragement to, take a time out and figure you out and transform and move your life and your space and yourself into a new version of you that is healed and elevated and not carrying down the old ways of your past, your parents and your family. That's also just examples of being that come from unhealed places as well. They didn't know everything, neither do we. We're all here to learn and make a different choice. Yes. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, if you've come this far and everything's resonated, or even just a little bit, please do hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay? Bye.